Hi, and welcome to Getting Started with Adobe Sign using workflows. Workflows for Adobe Sign is more designed for pre-existing documents that the workflow is always the same. Who needs to sign it is always the number of people that need to sign it is always the same. So this would be workflows that are already created by an administrator. And we're going to use the counseling course sub-waiver petition as our example. Best way to get there, if you don't remember the URL, if maybe you don't have it bookmarked or don't know where to go get it, would be adobe.com, sign in, put in the your Los Rios primary email, last name, first initial, and in my case, it's at FLC. And of course, we're going to choose company or school account. Personal is something totally different. So this is going to take us over to the Los Rios single sign-on. Okay, so now that we're logged in, fastest way to get there, I think, would be just to go to the document cloud because Adobe Sign is a part of the document cloud, one of the document cloud applications. And if we go to sign in, if we just sign and go to Adobe Sign, and let's just create a template, but that's not actually what we're doing. We're just trying to get to this URL. So I highly recommend bookmarking this URL. And that way it's a lot easier to find it in the future. Maybe we can add it to the website at some point. So I'm actually going to switch it over to the new experience. There's the old and the new one. I really like this one a lot more. So to get started, to use a workflow, choose Start from Library if you're on the home screen. Start from Library, and then you can choose from this window, from Recent, go to Workflows, and you can choose which workflow you want. Again, this is just a pre-existing PDF file, right, fillable form that also has the predefined number of people that it needs to go to. So in this case, we'll do the course substitution waiver. And in this specific workflow, the substitution waiver is started by the counselor. So I'll be acting as an academic counselor today. So we'll hit start. And now we can see here all the people that we need to include in this specific workflow for this document. So the first thing that happens after a counselor fills it out and signs it, in this case that's me, it goes to a counseling clerk, right? They're going to initial it, they're going to add it to the logging, the spreadsheet where they log it, and then the document's going to continue on its way to the department chair. They'll be able to add comments, approve or deny it, and then it goes to the area dean. And finally comes back to the counseling clerk to get logged and to double check to make sure all the routing happens appropriately, make sure everything was good. Quick note is that at the very end of all of this, anybody entered in the CC email address field will get the final copy of the of this petition. So this would be a good place to put the student email address, and in this particular sub-waiver, if there's a grad petition on file, which a counselor would be familiar with, then you can also put the FLC evaluations or anybody else that needs to get routed to it. So that's a good use case for the CC email address. So first things first is this needs to get routed to the counseling clerk. I'm actually going to use my personal Gmail because I can use these plus modifiers to send them. So we'll be at gmail.com, and I'll show you guys that works in a second. But normally this would be, for Folsom at the moment, this would be Colleen Robinson. So it'd be robinsc@flc.losrios.edu. Department chair plus chair at gmail.com. And same thing, plus dean. So this is just to show you guys how to route it, obviously. You put the actual emails in, and this will go back to the clerk version of my email address, and we'll call it good. Again, CC email address, this would be the student in this case, is a good place. This is my student email address, but as just as a good example. Cool, so we've plugged everybody in that needs to either approve or sign something, or if maybe they just need to receive it at the very end. Of course, for the sub-waiver, need to attach a course description and transcripts. The sub-waiver itself is already on here. We can see that because it has this little icon. So at the moment, we can't see it, but in this next step, we'll actually preview that document and the signature fields that are on it. So we will leave this checked. And let's go ahead and add course description. Choose files from my computer. I have just two kind of placeholders for now, just so you guys can kind of see it. Transcripts. And yes, we will preview it, and we'll hit next. If once you're familiar with this, you can skip this preview step if you want, but definitely the first couple times, leave it on there, so that way we can kind of see what's going on with the document. What's kind of cool is it's going to take these three documents, it's actually going to stitch them together as one. Kind of automatically. So here's the petition. This should feel very familiar. Here's all the fillable fields. We actually don't fill them out in the step. We're just double checking to see who's signing and adding things. Also note that as I scroll down, here's my course description placeholder PDF and the transcript placeholder PDF. So it all gets stitched together in 4 pages or however many pages the document is. So again, we're just looking at to see who has been assigned what fields. In this case, the counselor is the first person to sign this document, so they fill and sign it. And in this case, that's me. We can then see the clerk, so they have approval. Also, they put their initials in and send it on. We can see that up here, initials and date. Then we can see the chair. If we scroll down, here's the chair. They can approve, deny it. They can add this comment. This is a multi-line comment. Signature, it'll automatically fill their name and date when they click that signature. Same thing with the dean. Here it is, signature, name and date. And of course, the last thing to happen is it gets routed back to the clerk. They will check these items and they make sure it gets routed to A&R for scanning. And they initial it and they date it. So this all looks good, right? Everything, this is all, the flow's correct. So we'll go ahead and hit sign, then send. This would actually say fill and sign, then send, since me as the counseling clerk, my first thing I'm going to do is fill this out and add my signature to it. So we'll go ahead and do that right now. If you skip that preview step, this is exactly what you would come to as a counselor. It's the first thing that you'll see. So of course, these are the normal fillable fields. You could put in the student name, the number, et cetera, you'd fill all this stuff out. You could add comments. Technically, you don't need to include this since you've already done it in the email routing, but of course you could still put it in here for good measure. Note that my name as a signer has already been added along with the date. So all I need to do to click to sign is click in here. And I already have a signature on my Adobe account, but if you haven't been prompted for one, you'll just be prompted to type in your name. And when I hit click to sign, then this is going to trigger the next step in the workflow. So we'll go ahead and do that now. And here we are. You've successfully signed course subwaiver. So let's go look at my personal Gmail, just because I was able to use those plus modifiers. And we can see 2 things that happen. One, actually, well, only one thing. The counseling clerk in this situation, Joshua.Tarzia plus clerk, so I'm acting as the clerk right now. We get this email, review and approve. Me as a counselor, if I bring my Outlook over, me as a counselor, I already got an email showing that it's been sent out for a signature. So there's confirmation sitting here. You can also see this information back in Adobe Sign. So if we go to manage, we can see out for approval. Here's this current one, Joshua.Tarzia plus clerk. We can see it's out for approval. So at any step, you can always come back into Adobe Sign and see where things are at. So you can check on this and see, oh, hey, Colleen hasn't responded, or maybe the chair hasn't responded. So you can easily come in here and see where a workflow is currently hung up at. I have a lot in here for all these testing. You can see as we're figuring some of this stuff out. So anyways, so we'll come back here. Counseling clerk, it's their job right now to review and approve and do any other function that they might need. This is common. So because I'm already signed in, this actually went to this other address. So in this case, I'm going to right click and open link in incognito. But in the real world, if this was sent to Colleen, it would just function. So here we are. I'm the counseling clerk. I get all the information I need. I add it to our spreadsheet for tracking. I click here to add my initials. I'm just gonna put clerk for now. I guess I can't add much. Clerk. And we'll hit apply. And since the clerk doesn't do anything else here, they'll just click to approve, and it's going to get sent off. It's just going to get sent off in the next step in the email flow. In fact, it says, "Oh, this is who it's going to." Next step, Joshua Tarzi plus chair. So of course, this would be normally the actual chair, and it's been routed out. Of course, we can see we come in here. The email chain's a little weird because of I have conversation threading turned on, but you can see here. Here's the email came in. Time for me to review and sign it. Oh, shoot, hang on. Review and sign it. I have to right click on it again, incognito, just because I'm already signed in. Adobe kind of gets angry if I'm already signed in. So I'm the chair. Okay, here's all this information. Looks good. The clerk has signed it. Here's my stuff. I can approve it. I can deny it. I can add comments, and I can click to sign. So we'll go ahead and say chair. And you'll see that when I apply it, it actually adds the printed version here. There's the signature. Looks good. We'll click to sign. Let's pause for another moment and go check to see how our workflow is showing up in Adobe Sign. So if we come back over here and refresh, oh good, hey look, out for signature to the dean. Looks pretty good. So Dean Josh needs to go sign it. So let's go look at that email. There it is. It came in. Same exact things. The chair, review and sign. Oops. Let's do incognito. So normally they'll just click on it. They can see, oh, I got to scroll down. Click here to sign. Dean. Apply. Again, autofills the printed name, autofills the date. And it's been sent back to the clerk for final approval so that they can add it to the spreadsheet. There it is, approval request, back to the clerk. So me as a clerk, we'll approve it. Oops. Oh, how many times I'm gonna make that mistake? And me as a clerk, I can come in here and check everything and do my job. And apply. Click to approve. Clerk. And so a couple things are going to happen. Everyone is going to get an email that was on this chain saying that everything was approved and done. You as the counseling clerk, let's come over here. So note, actually before we go to the counseling clerk, note here as the student, this is the student email address. See, there it is. They can come in and they have access to it. Everybody in this chain has access to the approved version of the document. This can get forwarded off to A&R for scanning, or we can include them in the CC at the very beginning of this process. And we can even come in here, we can refresh this and see that we have our completely completed workflow here. And here's the document. We can see the history on it. We should be able to see the history on it. Let me switch over to the new experience. Completed. There it is. 5 recipients. Everybody signed it. These are the dates that they signed it. You can download it. You can even share this at this moment. If you send this off, say, oh, you know, we forgot to include eval in this chain. You can plug it in now. It says that they have to log in with their Adobe Sign account. That's not true. They can, but they'll also get an attachment with that final PDF, just like we saw with everybody else that was in the chain. So that's the the quick version of getting familiar with workflows in Adobe Sign.